Hello, everybody. This is Dom Savini, your professor for your 2025 Ethics and Financial Management class. I'm going to welcome you live as we can be with this synchronous course through this video. The majority of you, about 14 or so, have already posted your brief bios, your introductions, so thank you. About 6 or 7 of you have not, and it's already Tuesday afternoon, so my caution to all of you is, if you want to receive any credit, extra credit for the discussion threads, you should try to post within enough time to allow others to comment on your post. So I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but regarding the grading of the discussion threads, it's totally optional. You don't have to participate. It's extra credit. You get 1 point if the discussion thread meets my, criteria, right? What's that criteria? One, it's got to be relevant to that week's readings. And it needs to be as personal as possible without you, of course, divulging intimate, if you will, details that are best suited in your journal entry or just even not even mentioned. But the more you personalize your discussion, the more likely you are to get points. The other thing I look for in the discussion threads is whether you engage one another. And I don't mean by platitudes and patting one another on the back. I mean by actually engaging and broaching topics or observations in a civil and polite way, the way we should do. Not the way people are doing in the streets or on your favorite cable news channel. That's not how we talk in this class. We talk like human beings. We might have different opinions, different values, different orientations. That's okay. No one's is better than the others. We are all equal in this, and the dialogue should be equal and respectful. With that said, you have already read the syllabus. You've probably chatted with maybe others who have taken the class. My job is to probe you, to maybe even upset you in your views. So I challenge everyone. I don't spare anyone. I try to be as forthright, as polite, of course, as possible. So don't ever misunderstand. I come from New Jersey, and we have a different way of speaking. When I came here to DC, people thought, my God, I was a rogue because I spoke directly. I didn't speak an obtuse or shrouded language like they do here. The political correctness language has really polluted honest dialogue, and this is why I think sometimes people don't even want to express an opinion and they stay quiet because there's really no safe zone for speech anymore. We hope that comes back. So in any event, that's your discussion thread. So I'll kind of hit the major points of the syllabus. It's all volunteer on the discussion threads, okay? Extra points for you, but they're not easy points. So please, don't write a whole lot, but write from the heart, write from the readings and what the readings give you in your heart, okay? Really, I'm more interested in how you think from the heart than you do from the head. Because today, you can go to AI, ChatGPT, of course, and you can get all the thinking done for you. But I don't want that. And if you're going to do that, don't waste your time and don't waste mine. I want to know from you, from your heart to your mind, what you're thinking. Not to criticize it, to challenge it. I challenge every thought. Why? Because we have to understand that there are always different ways of looking at things. And to advance society, we should respect one another's different views, not ever hate one another, never alienate people, but try to build bridges where we do have commonality. Might not be perfect. Like I'm married married 44 years. Do you think it's always been perfect? Do you think my wife and I have always seen things the same? No, of course not. Were there times that I made mistakes? Oh, yeah. Times that she did, of course. But by and large, we find common ground, friendship, the most important. You'll have 3 papers that will be due. Um, they are, again, personalized in nature. First paper will be to describe your ethical framework, who you think you are, what framework you follow. And again, tied to the readings. So don't think you can just like Google the answer or no, you need to tie it back to boss mostly. So paper 1, I should see references to boss, your value system, your moral framework, describing maybe how you were raised. For example, I had one student who basically, very candid, told me, and it wasn't just in the journal entries, she mentioned this in her paper, which again, I guess I only reviewed, so maybe it was considered private information. But her parents raised her basically just to get ahead. You want to be a super achiever. And if you have to lie, cheat, or steal, it's okay because the society today, in their rationale, was it's a dog eat dog world. More than likely, you're not going to get caught. If you do get caught, the penalty is not going to be great. The reward is bigger. And remember, everybody's doing it, so go get your share. That's how she was raised. And she admitted it was wrong. She said, look, I know got my parents in trouble and it's not good and I'm struggling with all this. So the more you can personalize paper 1 and 2 and 3, of course, the better off you'll be in getting, your maximum points. Then paper 2, you're going to migrate into your work environment if you have one, or your home environment, or your social club environment. And you're basically going to do what we used to do in the military. When you're not sure where the enemy is, you do a recon. You send out your reconnaissance teams, and they scout the area. They look for, evidence of where the enemy may be. And I use the word enemy here just to identify for you the people that you'll be looking at in your job. Never to view them as an enemy necessarily, although some will be and some are. You know that. But you're kind of scouring around and assessing people. And in paper 2, you're going to tell me about your supervisor, your colleagues, maybe your mom or dad, sibling, someone you work with at your church, synagogue, or temple. And you're going to identify what you think their moral framework is, what their value system is, and compare it to yours. And start thinking about, how do I make this relationship work better if it's not already working well? Or why is it working well, even though we may have different frameworks? So that's kind of paper 2. Paper 3 is where you then will describe for me what your deliverables are and how they can be improved ethically. Meaning in paper 2, you're going to kind of identify challenges to your work, okay? An overbearing supervisor who may have no morals ask you to post fictitious entries or BS numbers. We've all been there. And how do you deal with that? In paper 3, you're going to talk to me about ways that you're going to overcome that. Now, in real life, there might be no overcoming it. In real life, you might just have to walk away from the job. So if paper 3, you wind up at a dead end and say, I can't improve my job ethically. Well then admit it. And then talk about your career progression now. Are you just exchanging hours for dollars and you don't care what you're doing? Okay, that could be your moral baseline. I get it. But I'm going to challenge you and say, is that all that you want out of life? Do you think that's all? Do you think it's okay to stay in that environment where maybe users are being misled, citizens might be misled, taxpayers, and you're cool with that? I'll push back. Or for those of you that say, you're going to basically conquer the world, you're going to, kind of do what the current administration does, issue a lot of EOs and cause a lot of change, you know. I'm saying, oh, really? You're going to do that? Okay. And what's going to happen when the first person comes up to you and tries to stop you? Are you going to fight? You know, so I'll be challenging you even in the review of the papers. Okay, so um, there'll be more. Again, I've already posted tons of videos over the years on, I shouldn't say tons, but a few, on what we look for in the papers. So you can go through ethiquest.com, and I believe you can search and find some of the videos there. But I'll be prompting you along, okay? And if you have any questions, let me know. The midterm exam is going to be administered. I haven't finalized it yet, but I guarantee you this. If you don't do the readings, you ain't doing well on that midterm, okay? I'm just going to say that straight up. There are going to be a handful of you, and maybe more, that might not have even purchased the books yet, because I know how some of you think. And that's all right. You can do that. You can play that game. Come midterm is going to show. And there's going to be no crying to mama. No, 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 no. No drama to mama or drama to papa in this case at all. So do your readings. I suggest that you outline your readings, key points that are being made. You will ask me, well, what key points in 100 pages should I note, Professor? They each have, each page, each paragraph has a point. Here's my hint. Go back to the discussion threads that are voluntary, even if you're not doing them. And in each week's discussion threads, I might be asking a question or two. Those are the points that I think you might want to focus on outlining, memorizing, learning, tolerating, whatever adjective you want to use for the midterm. Okay? So remember, the midterm relies on you reading the texts, all right, and understanding them. Last thing are your personal entries. When Professor Smith designed the class, I think he was kind of seeing ahead. The entries are really good. Again, you don't have to get detailed. I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable that way, okay? But like this woman who admitted to having parents that raised her, I had another student who admitted to having an adulterous relationship with someone. And in her case, her morals were questioned out of hurt, or she had used questionable morals out of hurt. Her husband had cheated on her. I hate to use the word cheated because I can get into another discussion about who cheated who first. But okay, the husband strayed. Well, she felt justified to do the same to him. She wanted him to feel her pain. She admitted it destroyed the marriage and the family they had, and she wished she hadn't done that. But again, she showed an evolution of her moral thinking. At one point, she was a-religious, didn't believe in God or anything, but after this entire incident, she said, you know what? It kind of drove me back to what I was taught as a child. And again, it's this moral development, this moral consciousness that you're going to find as you read Boss. We all go through it in life, okay? So those are things I want to talk to you about from a logistical point of view. I hope and pray you all stay well. I've only had one student ever who became ill and needed some extra time to complete the course. Don't think this is an automatic A class. Please don't. I've had to fail students. I've had to give students C grades. I've suggested to students, please drop out. If I see that you're heading in the wrong direction, I'm going to say it one time, and then it's on you. Okay? It's on you. I had one student who kind of fought me on this, and she wasn't turning in her homework. She wasn't clearly doing the discussion threads. And the homework was basically in that class, I assigned pop quizzes for extra credit, which I might do, by the way. From time to time, I might throw out a pop quiz and only give you a 24-hour turnaround time or same day turnaround time to respond um, for extra points. But it depends how the class is going as a whole. So anyway, did I digress? I might have. Let me just go and say I want to welcome you all. I understand we have a mix of students, but so far from those that have responded, you're mostly in accounting or finance. You tend to be on the younger side. All of your employers have these code of conducts, or you've given these codes, the training. That's all whoop-de-doo. That's all great. For those of you that are young, I can see in your writings your aspirations and your naivete, and it's not to make fun of you, man. It isn't, because I was that way too. Until I got to DC. When I left New Jersey, I thought I left crime and corruption behind because I come from a family that was politically connected, and I saw some stuff. And it was just the way it was done in New Jersey, okay? So when I left Jersey, I thought, yeah, that stuff's behind me. I'm going to Washington. These people really care about the country. They're focused on what's best. And let me tell you something. I had a rude awakening. It hit me. I can get into it later, but what you find is corruption everywhere. And believe me, it ain't just a Republican or Democrat thing. It is a people problem. And that's why you're taking this course. Because some of you are already corrupt. Some of you just don't know it yet. This course is going to help bring that out. Some of you think you're so smart you're going to get away with it. And you very well may for a while, but it will catch up to you. Trust me, it does. In more ways than one. So, those of you that are young, you got to understand, you can get a master's degree, you can get a PhD in ethics, makes no difference. It's like earning a degree in psychology and you still come out basically being freaking nuts. When I was going to school, I would go to some of my friends, hey, what are you going to study? Psychology. Why? Because I want to figure myself out. Well, you don't need a class to figure yourself out. It's a moral problem. It's not, an intellectual thing. So the same thing with ethics. You could study ethics. It's not going to make you more ethical. What makes you more ethical is challenging your belief system, challenging your biases, doing things that you ordinarily don't want to do, but is the right thing to do. And that's why we have the problems we have in society, whether it's politics, our church, our government, our families. Why do we have arguments? Why do we have so many problems? It's because people don't do the right thing. Why? It's too labor intensive. I got to think too much. It's too much work. You mean I have to humble myself? Oh yeah. That's part of the fundamental problem. And so in this class, this first week, of your readings, what you should have picked up is, why are we going to study ethics? Boss gives us a good explanation why. To become better. Plant helps us understand that too. Look, we all have a moral compass. We would hope that it would point to true north, but they all don't. Life sometimes hurts us. Culture changes us. And that compass can't always find magnetic true north. This class is supposed to help you find that magnetic true north. So remember, ethics is more than a to-do list of do's and don'ts. It's a way of living. It's a way of thinking, critical thinking, and trying to build bridges to other points of view. It's for a mature thinker. Anybody that watches the opinion shows, or if you drink Kool-Aid and you only believe one political party's platform versus another, you're already lost. You've got to put all of these opinions aside and say, I have to make up my own mind, listening to even the opinions I don't like. But how can I build a bridge to those, you know, differing views? That's the mature thinker. That's the leader. That's what we need in this country. Not people that say, well, I'm going to see it my way, and it's the highway. And I don't give a crap what the other person thinks. That's what's happening in society, and that's why we're melting. That's not the right way to be. So even churches make the mistakes. Um, you know, everyone makes the mistake. But remember, you want to critically think and challenge your own biases and beliefs in this class. And I'm supposed to help you do that, okay? Now, do I have biases? I sure do, and I will share with you what some of them are over time. Um, you know, some of you have written in and, you know, you've explained to me your backgrounds. And one lady wrote in and said, hey, you know, she comes from an immigrant family. Her mother, I think, was an immigrant. Her father came here maybe illegally, so she has mixed feelings on immigration. I get it. My father came here legally through Ellis Island, but he got in trouble with the law, my father. And, you know, they almost deported my old man when he was a young man. He was only 16. And thankfully they didn't deport him. But after that, he became a wonderful U.S. citizen, hardworking, paid his taxes. Even when times were rough, he wouldn't accept welfare or food stamps because he was too proud. He's like, no, we're going to get through this. We're going to work hard. We're going to get through this. I love this country because of the opportunity it gave him. That's what he would tell us. And because he came from southern Italy, it was they were like in poverty, these people. And there's slavery there too. You don't ever hear about it, right? God forbid, you know, you hear about, you know, other people, you want to turn it off. No. My ancestors were slaves too. And we know from oral history. So, to make a long story short, there are a lot of biases and prejudices that we all have. The accounting profession learned in 1970 through a very formal study. There are two ways that people make decisions and critically think. One is by data-driven analysis, what we accountants and finance folks love, right? And the other way is through heuristics, which is your gut instinct, which may in fact now not be a bad thing. You got to just make sure you're not biased from the gut, from your experiences, your culture, etc. Well, the AICPA, well, it was a forerunner of the AICPA. What the accounting folks found back in the 70s was that decision makers, because they were studying users, who are users of financial statements, they uncovered that people make decisions based on their gut. Why? Because they're too busy. They're too busy working, you know, paying taxes, going to vote, going to shop, getting the kids' lunch ready. They don't have time for research. Well, now with ChatGPT, it's a great tool. You know, the doctor the other day recommended I get Prevnar 20. I'm saying to him, what the hell is Prevnar 20? You know, it's like, you know, what am I going out in outer space? Prevnar, what is this? So I Google it, go to ChatGPT, I do the research, and I find out it's a vaccine for older people, younger people with immunocompromised bodies or systems. And it's a vaccine. It's supposed to be safe. It's not like the COVID vaccine. Now we're finding out more and more. It's not an mRNA thing. But using ChatGPT, within a matter of seconds, I was able to narrow the risk group. Guess what? I'm not in it. So why am I going to take it? And I looked at the potential side effects. You know, I don't care how infinitesimal the side effects are, right? So the critical thinking can be aided through AI now. But prior to that, people were relying on their gut and their intuition because they just didn't have time. There was, you know, the data was limited. Now we don't have that excuse. So we have to retrain our brains. Yeah, listen to the gut, listen to the lower brain all the time, but subject it to the higher brain's thinking. And now with data analysis, as long as it's not biased, And because that's another thing we're finding out through the COVID research, and it's just not the United States. Some of you don't like this RFK Jr. You can have your opinion, but you go to England. England is the most transparent of all the countries in the world, and they are basically saying, mea culpa, we screwed this up. That's what they're basically saying out there, and they're finding out that there was not only hidden information, altered information, there was a system designed to make big pharma money, and they made a lot. So as long as that's not happening and you're getting real evidence, that's not filtered, not censored, you can make better decisions now with the use of AI. So my point is, you got to retrain yourself, because we haven't had that up until now. It was based upon our individual experiences. So we're going to be checking your biases. And that's why it's important to go through the boss text and the plant exercises and readings to identify who you are as we start to diagnose your moral framework and your values. And so the first week we talk about, why are we studying ethics? And as I close, remember, in the Duska reading, Duska's got an excellent book, by the way, outstanding. I mean, they're all great. They're all great. You should have looked at that video. I'm not going to repeat myself. I've given you a good overview of the textbooks and why I think you should definitely keep them on your desk, or at least handy. Duska tells us we want to identify our values, and it's to sharpen critical thinking, as I've said, but it's for professional integrity. Before I close, I'll just tell you, if you're young, understand this. You're going to be tempted by the three bigger, the three bigger temptations: sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It's going to just happen, okay? It happened to me, and it happened to probably anyone here over 35, all right? Some of your classmates will probably echo what I'm saying. You're going to be offered money. You'll be offered drugs, booze, women, to sell your soul. And trust me, you'll make a lot of money in the short run, and maybe even the long run, and you might even get away with it. But inside, you kill yourself. Inside, you destroy that moral compass. And we don't know if there's an afterlife or not, so you better bet there ain't, right? But understand this, that ethics can take you to very high places, or it can take you to very, very low places. You get to choose. You get to choose how you go to sleep at night. Whether you have to sleep with one eye open, or worrying about the BS lies you got to tell tomorrow morning, and the fictitious entries that you're going to have to create to cover up what you did. Or if you can sleep like a baby and not worry about anything because you've done the right thing. Welcome to the class. If you got anything you want to share, let me know. You know how to reach me. But begin working your module 2 and heed what I say about the readings. Don't take me for a chump. Don't take this class lightly. Let it be one of the best classes you've ever had, okay? Because I want you to grow, and I want you to succeed, and I want you to be the best person that you can be, no matter what shackles or chains might have you that you don't even know are there, but they are. Ci vediamo next week.